Randy Cole Sims Sr. here, Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. Right now, I'm taking this time as I find myself on the campus of the Fiske Boulevard Church of Christ, taking the time to share some information that we believe to be vitally important for the Fiske Boulevard Church of Christ and those perhaps that may have a vested interest in what we are doing, decisions that have been made, and how we plan to move forward. I oftentimes, in part for the sake of record keeping and some other things that separate various efforts, like to title things. And I think for this occasion in particular, I titled this The Quandary of a Rush to Normalcy. The Quandary of a Rush to Normalcy. First of all, let me say on behalf of the PEDS ministry, that is those men that desire to serve as preachers, elders, and deacons for the benefit of the Fiske Boulevard Church of Christ, persons that I need to express appreciation to in particular, like Brother Hansel Bell, Brother Edward Bowie, Brother Otis Gambrell, and Brother Dan Gibson, of course, along with also Brother Edward Morris. And yours truly, of course. It's necessary that I take the time to share the following by way of thanks, informational stats, and the adjustments that we're making for the benefit of those who God has blessed us to serve. First of all, allow me to thank God that He has kept us in spite of the COVID-19 virus and its interruptive impact. Listen, don't take that for granted, Fiske. The idea that, to the best of my knowledge, that God has allowed us and has sustained us while dealing with the impact of this virus, that we have been safe and health has been spared, and those kinds of things, Fiske Boulevard Church of Christ ought to be very thankful, and we don't want to take God for granted in terms of what He has done for us to this point in time. I'm not saying just us and or only us, but I'm saying to us, He has been good, and for that, we ought to be sure enough thankful. Secondly, I need to thank the saints that compose the Fiske Boulevard Church of Christ for your sacrificial commitment to giving and the prayers that we believe God is and has responded to. We have been able to take care of the things that we need to take care of financially in order for us to continue to do what God has blessed us to do. And we don't want to allow the time to continue to move on without taking the necessary time to express our sincere thanks for all that have done what you have done, for the ways that you have made the adjustments, and dare I suggest the sacrifice that you could meet your financial obligation in terms of your commitment to God. Thank you. Then, too, I need to thank our technical ministry personnel for their faithfulness that gives us the opportunity to continue in service to the saints through electronic means and other opportunities that God blesses us with. We have been able to encourage worship through virtual means, through Facebook Live, through YouTube Live, through the conference call and the meetings that we've needed to have. We've been able to do that and maintain some manner of contact with those that, again, God has blessed us to serve. Now, I know it's not a perfect way of doing things, but in light of the circumstances that we find ourselves dealing with, I think we've done fairly well. Now, not only do I want to express appreciation on behalf of myself and the PEDS group, but then too, this effort is motivated and or moved by statistical information that we find vital to share, and we also find vital in terms of decisions that have been made and that we continue to look at in consideration of how we'll continue to move. I've said from the onset of what we've done by way of adjustments that things have been very fluid, and it seems that it very well may be so that that may be true for some time. Statistics that encouraged us in terms of how we look at and how we'll proceed are as following. Allow me to say that you understand the basis for which I get the information that we share with you and has been shared with us. According to the Miami Herald on today, June 16, 2020, as well as other sources that concur, Florida's Department of Health on Tuesday morning, just this morning, confirmed 2,783 additional cases of COVID-19, setting another daily total record high since the start of the pandemic. The state now has a total of 80,109 confirmed cases. Previously, the highest daily total recorded was on this past Saturday when 2,581 cases were reported. There were also 55 new deaths announced Tuesday, raising the statewide death total to 2,993 cases. Adjustments that we have made to benefit those that God has blessed us to serve are as following. And let me make sure you understand before I give you the adjustments that we've made. You can't look at, or we feel, it wouldn't be wise to be mindful of increase and not make adjustments as best we can in light of those whom God has blessed us to serve. So it's absolutely our intent and or intention in light of those who compose the Fiske Blvd Church of Christ and the idea that God blesses us to serve. We thought it was important that the decisions that we make moving forward be in light of our responsibility to those God allows us to serve. This may not be true for every congregation of the Church of Christ. This may not be true for particular circumstances that are not mirroring the ones that we face right now. So to Fiske, I would say, please be mindful that we do what we do in light of what we believe to be best, coupled with the circumstances of the matters that I mentioned to you, which suggest currently that the cases are continuing to increase. It would be less than wise to move, we believe, away from what we've done that seeks to do what we can to the best of our knowledge and ability to serve a people, to encourage healthy interactions by way of our time coming together, to serve healthy kind of ways of activity as best one can to avoid being negatively impacted by the COVID-19 virus. Be mindful of the motivating factor. Now, here's what we've done by way of adjustments for the benefit of those we serve, that we may have made to benefit those, again, that God has blessed us to serve. First of all, we want to ask everyone that finds themselves entering one of the buildings on our campus, please come wearing a mask. As a matter of fact, we go even a step further and ask you, for the sake of your welfare and the welfare of others, as you have opportunity to go out in public, and I know sometimes you have to, please, if you haven't initiated the practice of wearing a mask, we want to encourage you to do so. Friends, we find it necessary because the increase suggested by the statistics that I shared with you means that we need to be careful and make sure that, as I believe there could be a rush to normalcy, we do what we do in light of what we feel to be the safest practice for each of us as best we possibly can. So when you're on our campus in one of our facilities, please wear a mask. Also, for those of you perhaps that find yourself not having sufficient numbers of masks, I want to encourage you to contact our sister Nadasha Harris or our sister Sharon Spikes, who both are making the mask. There is a price attached to it, one that I believe to be very appropriate in light of what they're doing. But we just wanted you to know, for those who have need of said mask, that they are readily available, and we would absolutely encourage you to take advantage of the same. We will continue to practice social distancing. Friends, listen, we're trying to take the necessary precautions because we recognize that the reports seem to suggest that as we have moved to what the state of Florida is recognizing as phase 2 of the reopening of the state, that the increase in number of positive cases seems to be consistent with the effort to move back to normalcy. So we'll continue to practice social distancing. I want to remind you, a table has been placed at our entrance to the auditorium. On that table are communion items, and they should be picked up and taken with you as you head to your seat. For those of you who want to be in person at the worship service Sunday at noon, or want to be present in person at the Bible study Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. Now, make no mistake, we recognize the reality that some continue to want to and believe it to be best for them and their circumstance that they continue to self-quarantine. We absolutely support your decision. For those who find themselves coming, we want you to come, and we want you to be as safe as you possibly can, because it not only impacts you, but it impacts others that have a desire to come to the facility, that we might have that time of worship or that we might have that time of study together in person. Even as you're coming, I want to remind you again, wear the mask. 2, we're continuing to practice social distancing. 3, remember the table is available with communion supplies that should be picked up and taken with you as you move to your seat. Please place your offering in the container or box as you enter. A limited number of masks are available, but I want to encourage you, please, not only do you need the benefit of the mask while you're in one of our facilities on the campus here, but you should make that a practice as you have opportunity or need to go out to take care of matters that are pertinent and or important. Wear your mask. We want to encourage that. Now, saying that then suggests, and if I might say it this way, I have a couple of masks here in my office, I have a mask in my truck, and I have a few masks at my home. The goal is, as I have opportunity to go, in the event that I leave and forget I've got what I need in my truck, should I forget and get here and don't have a mask, I've got it here in my office. To the Fiske Blvd Church of Christ and those whom we love, my brothers and my sisters, it's vitally important that we practice these safe methods for the sake of our lives and those whom we love. I would want you to know that there are a limited number of masks, don't forget, that are available. But because the number is limited, we want to encourage you to get to the place that you have multiple masks and that you utilize that anytime you find yourself out and about. Then lastly, on that table is hand sanitizer, and we want you to utilize that, please. For those of you who feel you need to take a little as you come into the auditorium, please feel free to do so. For those of you who may want to utilize again as you exit the auditorium, please feel free to do so. Let me say to you as well that we are continuing to do things here. So again, very fluid circumstance suggests that matters will continue to evolve. We have placed orders for matters or supplies that will be utilized in accomplishing what we believe to be safe practices. Bear with us, be patient, as we will find ourselves more than likely making some other adjustments for the safety of those who find themselves in our facilities on the campus of the Fiske Blvd Church of Christ. So I want to highlight, I want to emphasize, And I want to continue to encourage you, and I want to plead with you, be patient. We're doing what we can, the best that we can, to be safe for and towards those whom God has blessed us to serve. We are encouraging everyone, as you come into the auditorium, seat yourself in every other row. It's another means of our practicing social distancing. Friends, I know it's a little awkward. The Fiske Boulevard Church of Christ prides itself on being a loving group of people, and I miss the hugs, and I miss the everybody grab a neck statement that your preacher oftentimes makes as we come to the conclusion of our time together. But for the sake and welfare of our church family, it's vitally important that we do some things as best we can to keep us safe, even while we're in the presence of one another. Why? Place the offering in the box. Why? Pick up your communion as it's spaced on the table. We don't want to pass trays that promote things that would be to our detriment, whether it is the offering tray or our trays that we utilize for our communion. Therefore, we set it up as best we can to have no contact with items that would be passed from person to person. This is a time like I've never known, seen, or understood. I said to you at the onset of this effort, as I oftentimes title things, in this one, seeing the quandary of a rush to normalcy. It's puzzling. Our normalcy is going to be a new normal. Now, friends, I know there are some who have been away from work. There are some, unfortunately, that have lost their source of employment as a result of the impact of this virus. There are some, because of those losses, find themselves with rent and or house notes that may be behind. We're sympathetic to those that find themselves in that position. And it's our prayer that God would sustain, that needs might be met, that God would bless, that things happen and come to pass, that you are in a position to be made whole, to be put back in what you were, and even or better. But because we can't control those things, but we can control how we do in terms of the interactions that could prove to be dangerous, dare I suggest fatal to us, we're suggesting some things that we believe would be helpful. Now again, all that I can do on behalf of myself and the men that serve this family is do what we do to the best of our ability in light of the idea that God has blessed us to serve the family of God's people that meet right here at 805 South Fiske Boulevard. We continue in prayer for you. We continue to plead God's blessings for one and all. We continue to ask you to stay the course. Don't give in, don't give up, and don't give out. But again, the quandary of a rush to normalcy is nothing to take for granted. God knows He sustained us to this point, and it's our fervent prayer that He'll keep us to this and through this. Again, on behalf of myself, Brother Hansel Bell, Brother Edward Bowie, Brother Otis Gambrell, Brother Edward Morris, and Brother Dan Gibson, we're doing what we can to best serve those whom God has allowed us the privilege to guide to His glory and to His honor. Finally, we miss you. We're looking forward to a time that God delivers us through all of this. Can I say, as I do every now and again, we love you like nobody loves you, but God loves you best. Be blessed and be safe. Until the next time, God's richest blessings and favor to one and all.